Melanated family, how's everybody doing, man? This is your brother Harrison back for a brand new episode of the Melanated Combo podcast. And I got a special guest on the show today, family. Like most of you know, a few weeks ago, I did my second live show ever at the Malcolm X Fest here in Sacramento. It was popping. If you wasn't there, you missed it. You need to be there next year. But on my live show, I had like a panel with six individuals from my city. And, me and my brother Barry Axius kind of hooked this up, but it was intriguing, man, because I had a lot of individuals who do different things here in the Sacramento region. And all of us is about empowering our community, our kids, finances, everything that we can, every pocket we can find ourselves. We've been helping our people. So on today's show, I got my sister Lorreen, who is the creator of the Black Youth Leadership Project. And we're going to talk to her about that today because we understand how this system works. We understand how white supremacy works, but our children is the future. Like what we put into the children, and we can look at the system if we want to. Like they hold accountability for a lot of the things we go through as Black folks. But what about the parents? What about us as a community just closing the door and saying we're going to fix this shit ourselves? You see what I'm saying? So on the show today, I'm excited, family. I got my sister Lorreen from Black Youth Leadership Project. I love that name. What's up, Lorreen? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well, sister.
And I just have
So
to make a quick correction because I am not the creator of Black Youth Leadership Project. This project was created in 1999. I was 2 years out of high school at that point.
okay.
And I did not take over the leadership role here until 2009. So I just want to put that out there, make
Mhm.
sure that we keep it a buck because I'm not trying to take credit from nobody who started this. I've just rebranded it and I've made it into a self-sustaining program on the outside of the state capitol.
Well, so okay, in that case, talk to me about the creation of it. Like how was it created?
So I can only tell you what I've read in the documents. It was
Mm,
created, I want to say, by about 32 Black staff at the state capitol in
mm,
1999 who realized that there were a lot of programs coming to the capitol and none of them really had Black children. And so they
mm,
wanted to be intentional, making themselves and Black elected officials available to these young people so they could see something. Because, seeing something matters.
mhm,
And when you can see it, you can visualize it and you can become it. So
mhm.
they started it in 1999, and I didn't get to the Capitol till 2005. So I cannot take credit for the genesis. I can absolutely take credit for everything that happened after 2009, though, including
Okay.
this fly logo. Shout out to
I like that logo.
who
That's
developed this logo for me in 2009.
that's dope. So you've been doing it since 2009. And
Well, I started in 2005, but I was
mm,
not in charge.
got it. Got it. Got it. So you took over in 2009 and I'm looking at everything on social media and all the flyers and everything you post. It looks like a large part of what you do is based on um education, right? Like I've seen a lot of stuff about scholarships and just the educational piece for our children. Talk to us about that. Give me an idea of everything that your program touches on.
Oh Lord, how much time we got?
As much time as you
So what I will say is that I'm an educational advocate. I started advocating in wait, hold on. What year is this? Hold on, real quick.
23.
2018.
Mm,
Because of what was going on over at Pleasant Grove High School with the young ladies who wrote their administrators a letter kind of detailing the things that were happening on campus, like nooses being thrown into the classroom while they were taking
mm,
tests, being followed home with by somebody driving a truck with a Confederate flag in the window.
mm,
And so instead of them adhering to what these young ladies put on paper, they decided to go and target them. They
mm,
started targeting them in class, retaliating because they went on the news station and talked about what was happening on campus that the administrators refused to address. And so
mm.
I remember they had a town hall. I think it was about 400, 500 people. And I ended up being the first speaker. However, that happened. God has a sense of humor. And I told her, go ahead and take a break. I had it from here. And so I've been doing educational advocacy since then because I believe that whenever our children encounter somebody in a school environment, there is a power imbalance. I'm here
Mm.
to equal out that power imbalance.
Mm. And one of the things about your program that stood out to me because growing up in Sacramento, Wait, first let me ask, did you grow up in Sacramento?
I did. Valley High School, class of
Valley High.
1997. Shout out to my Vikings out there. Yeah, I'm here. I went to Cordova first, so I started my freshman year at Cordova, but at the end of freshman year, I transferred over to Valley, and I ended up graduating from Valley.
Okay, because I graduated from Burbank in
Okay,
'98.
come on, Titans.
Yeah. So one of the things that stood out to me about your program is the focus on the youth, because growing up here in Sacramento and going to public school, it was tough, man. Like a lot of teachers that weren't from the community, a lot of people that didn't really feel like they gave a shit about everything that was going on outside of the school. Like when you
You
left school, a
know?
lot of us had problems that had nothing to do with a book or
Yeah.
nothing to do with learning. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So how did you manage that part? Because I remember like the live show we did, I could kind of feel your frustration with the school system.
Oh, I
Like I
get
can
pissed
feel
off.
your
Yeah.
frustration from
No, just pray for me. They make me upset, honey. Yeah, and it's just the benign neglect. You know
mm,
what I mean? The neglect of our young people, the neglect of our needs, the knowing that something is happening in the community or with Black students. You can tell, people lie, numbers do not. So you
mhm,
know that there are problems happening in your on your campuses or within your district, and you're refusing to address them or direct resources to that specific problem. They have money for everybody else but Black people. Let's keep it a
mhm,
buck.
mhm,
And so what we do, we go to the school board meetings. I was supposed to be at one tonight, but I neglected to go because I didn't want to. I'm tired. But we take complaints from parents throughout the school districts. We're not just in Elk Grove. I will go anywhere. I've flown to LA a couple times to represent families down there. And
mm,
we have to start moving with intentionality because we know what's happening. If we were dealing with things when we were these young people's ages, we know what's happening. We
mhm,
just didn't have a pandemic to contend with. We didn't have and I always tell my kids that work here, there's a difference between what we see kind of in the South and what we see in California. California has covert racism. It's
mhm,
undercover, right? They don't want you to know that they really don't fool with you, but they're
mhm,
gonna make it in their policies impossible for you to advance because they just don't want you to. They
mhm.
have to have somebody at the bottom.
Very true.
We're the legs of the table that everybody's standing on. Let's keep it real.
This is very true.
Other problem is and I done forgot my train of thought because I just went on the whole circle. But so with the complaints that we take, we're in school board meetings, we're in district meetings, talking to these folks about how they can better communicate with parents, how they can better serve children, how they can and what we've actually done was we've taken in peer advocates, so kids closer to the age of these kids that we're talking about,
Mhm,
they then weigh in on the conversation. So it's
mm.
a holistic approach to problem solving, and we're involving the whole team and trying to make it better for the babies on the ground.
That's dope. Now, a question I have for you, because I'm looking at everything you're doing, like with all the different scholarships, all the
Mhm.
different events, like all these attempts to make not just education cool, but make our children understand this is a possibility for you. Like I'm a advocate for you. Now, when doing this work, Lorraine, what's the general consensus you get from our Black parents? Because I know, like I mentioned when we first started, I'm aware of the system and how systematic racism has affected us. But at this point, a lot of times I see parents who just don't give a shit. So how do you manage doing this every day for the sake of somebody's child, but
Mhm.
then dealing with a parent who may be a little nonchalant about it, may not understand the importance of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I can answer that two ways. So when parents finally get to me, it's because stuff has hit the fan, right?
Mm,
And they don't have any, like, they go on the Googles and they type in something about, I don't know what parents are typing in, but they end up finding us. And once they find us, it's kind of like at a crisis level.
hmm,
And so everybody's concerned when it's their kid.
very true.
Now, when you mitigate that issue for that parent, I don't see any parents anymore. I don't see them. I don't see the majority of them coming back and paying it forward. I don't see the majority of them getting their children involved in the programming that we offer for free. We offer our advocacy services for free for the benefit of the community. And when I say advocacy, understand that we speak fluent education code. I do not go in with emotion. I go in with facts. I have to know the laws in order to figure out how to deal with the situation. I also have to know the district policies. That means every single district that I interact with, I have to know what's on their books because everybody's not uniform. And so I think that it's a thankless job. I understand the charge that God has given me to serve my people, but I get mad too. I'm not a magician. This does not happen without the cooperation of the parents.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't, because I don't take money from you, I don't have to let you get on my nerves. And
Yeah.
so this is the thing. I'm gonna help you as long as you're cooperative. The moment you become uncooperative, or you talking slick, or you talking to me or my team as if we got a tail between our legs and we just gonna acquiesce, we have to part ways. And so I'm okay with people going on and finding somebody else who can serve their needs. It just may not be us, and I'm okay with that.
That's very important because I know throughout our city, not only your organization, but I know of several organizations who are attempting. My brother Barry has one with Voice of the Youth, where we're just attempting to get kids on the right track, attempting to show them something different than what goes on in some of our communities. But I'm disappointed at times, and I was a young father who knew the importance of like providing for my kids and stuff, but I didn't have a social awareness, and I was still young trying to do different shit. You know what I mean? So I can understand how some of the parents just may not be there yet, but this is what it's gonna take. That's why I named the show Black Youth Hold the Keys to Our Future, because I think when we look at everything we're going through, if we prepare this next generation correctly, we can get to where we need to be. Now, I see you promote the scholarship program a lot. Like I've seen a lot of stuff about scholarship programs in college. Lorreen, what's your take on, because we understand like the student loan debt in America and how there are so many people who go to college and then can't afford to actually pay it back. What's your take on, so if you have a student or a young person who's thinking about going to college, they're not sure, do you give them other routes like like a trade school route or some other route besides college, or are you stern with college is the only way for youth?
So I think that, again, I can answer that a couple of ways.
Mm-hmm.
We have a program here called GOAT. So it's Goals, Organization, Application, and Transcripts. I do not run that program. I do not facilitate that program. That the goal of GOAT is to get students into a 4-year college. Now, I won't say that BYLP provides every service when it comes to options out of high school. We will have to lean on our community partners. That's just not something that we do. If I come across somebody and they have some information about a trade school, I'm always sharing other folks' information on our page. We're not going to be in every pot doing everything because there's enough work for everybody to do. And so our particular program is focused on 4-year college. However, the scholarships that you talked about, those are not just for students who are going to 4-year universities. Those are for students going to trade school, and those are for students who are going the community college route. And so we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and those scholarships will be given out at our Black Grad Celebration on the 25th. So again, it's just our way of giving back, letting them know we see them. We want to put some money in their pocket, and all they have to do is apply. Now, if we don't get a lot of folks applying, which we probably have like 3 right now, they're lost. I mean, we can only provide the opportunity. It's up to our people to take advantage of the things that are on the table, and we made it super, super easy. All you have to do is read the instructions. Siri trying to get in our conversation. I'm not sure. All they have to do is read the instructions and submit a video. I mean, it's super simple. You tell me what you're up to. You tell us the information, answer the questions on the scholarships, and submit. And it should be super simple. So we're trying to do our part. We can't do everything, but we can do something.
Of course. And, I wanted to have you on because I want everybody that follows me, everybody that follows the show, understand how important your job is as a black parent. Like I have a lot of people that follow me who they don't like police brutality, Lorraine. They don't like white
Me neither.
supremacy. They attack that shit at every stance. But we also need to know inside of our house we can create change too. Like it's not just about yelling from the rooftop about how this system has wronged us, which they have, but you have to dig into your kids. Like it's a process of
Mhm.
not just feeding them and giving them clothes, but it's digging into everything about their person in school, in knowledge. All of that is important. And I asked about the trade school thing because I think all of that should be an option. What I don't
Absolutely.
think, as like a 43-year-old man, I don't think any kid should graduate high school and just go into the job force. I think there needs to be some sort of skill
Mhm.
that's acquired so you can be more viable when you're out there looking for a job, because we see how so many of our young men or so many of our black men are in jail or prison, and this system is waiting to get you trapped. You know what I mean? So that's
Mhm.
why I like programs like you have, because we can steer them in a different direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's about providing options, right?
Mhm.
So I
Options,
have
options.
I want to say six young people that work here between the ages of 18 and 23. I believe
Mhm.
she's the oldest. And this is a safe place for them to make the mistakes that they probably wouldn't get a chance to make in regular 9 to 5 jobs or someplace else.
Mhm.
And they get to learn a variety of skills. I don't babysit them. You know, if I'm going to a school, I'm like, what you doing? Let's go. And it's trial by fire. Why? Because they're not always going to get the opportunity to go through a training to where they're going to be comfortable 100% of the time. That is not the cards that we are dealt most times.
Mhm.
So it's about putting things in front of them, getting them to think about the things that they are seeing and articulate it. So we have our own podcast here called Black versus the Board of Education.
Yeah,
Um,
you know.
and we talk about whatever we're seeing, whether it's a principal throwing a kid up against a wall, or it's talking to somebody from the news station, or whatever it is that they want to do and they've expressed to me that they're interested in. I try to make that happen for them so they can get that experience, so that when they do move on from here, if that's what they choose to do, they have a whole repertoire of things that they can really rely on. And so it's my job, as maybe somebody who already has done radio professionally and somebody who's worked in the state capitol and been around legislation, it's my job to impart what I know, to give them that kind of jump off point, and for them to add to it. And that's the responsibility of every adult in our community. Impart what you know. Stop hoarding secrets, resources. Stop that stuff, because
Mhm.
our babies are not living in a time that we lived in.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Although they are right fighters, they get on these campuses, they will have police called on them.
Yep.
They will be manhandled. And
Yep.
so it's better for us to teach them how to articulate what it is that they're feeling, and to give them the number of somebody who could come in and even out that playing field.
Mhm.
Not leave them to fight for themselves. And for so long, we've let our children fight for themselves, to now kids are squaring up with us.
Yeah, ain't that the damn truth? And I think your program and a lot of the programs I see around the city, one thing that I think it's doing is giving young people like a black empowerment center. So yeah, you can go out and work and do whatever you want to do with your life, but damn, man, you gotta care about your people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little disappointed sometimes because I know a lot of older black folks who may be great in their career, got a lot of money, all this different shit, but they don't really care about us like that. You know what I mean? Like when it comes down to it, they'd take money before they go with their people and do something that's going to empower everybody. And again, the state we in America today, the government played a large part, but
100%.
everybody has a role. So when I see programs like yours where you're young people get to see black people in leadership roles, like black people in roles that are respected, that goes a long way, man. Because all too often we get older black folks who don't give a shit about nothing but they self. They may post, yeah, the police shot us, whatever, but you got to go down there. Like you got to put your feet to the ground. And some of us don't understand. You can talk whatever you want to talk. You can go online. I appreciate the online activism. I do. It creates awareness. But
Yeah.
what are you doing in your community? Don't you think that's a thing? Like for black people in general, we need to get out and help. You know what I mean?
Well, we got to stop being scared of our young people.
Yeah.
We got to stop being scared of them.
Mm.
They're acting in a specific way because we have not given them the tools to act a different way, or
There we
we
go.
haven't shown them a different way. We've
There
let
we
them
go.
fend for themselves,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so I just see a lot of people are fearful of them. They don't want to engage them. And I've seen the comments of, oh, well, the kids in this generation are disrespectful. Well, then my question is, who raised them?
Who? That's the perfect question. Who
They
raised?
didn't get this way all on their own.
Yep. Yep. That's why
No,
on
and
my.
I'll keep it a buck. My kid is hella spoiled. She's spoiled. She
Mhm.
is. Um, but I sis, really?
You and I'm that's why on my show I talk because I got 5 kids. I have 4 kids by the age of 22. I talk a lot
Wow.
about my story because
Mhm.
that's not my same story, but that lane is what got a lot of us in the situations we in today. And we
Yeah.
need to be honest about that. Like the crack epidemic and all these eras in our community where we are attacked, where we were attacked, we're seeing the remnants of that with these children. And when I see a young dude or a young girl and I'm in the store and they don't got shoes on or their hair ain't brushed or they
Right.
yelling and cussing and screaming and all this other shit, I'm saying to myself, where's the parent at? Then I see the parent, and the parent may have another baby on their shoulder, and it's you can tell that everything isn't there. Like they not in the moment like they need to be. This is the black community problem. Like sometimes we can outsource our problems and say, hey, you've been doing this to us, you've been wrong. And it's like the reparation conversation we was having at the live show. All
Mhm.
this is important, but we got to close the door sometime and look at our parents and say, come on now, let's have a conversation with just us, not talking about the system, just us. What are we doing as parents?
Well,
Like,
well,
how much do you read
but
to your
the thing
kids?
is, all of it is kind of intertwined and
Yeah,
ingrained, right?
yeah, true.
So I don't always throw it. I think that the parents, we have a certain responsibility. However, I also think that there are parents who never healed from their own traumas,
Mm,
and they didn't know what to say to their kids, right?
mm,
And so until we kind of look at, what's been going on and how we can support the whole family holistically, like we do here, like we're
mm,
trying to do here, we
mm,
even go up to the grandparents, because it's like, what can we put into place to make sure that everybody feels seen, heard, valued, dealt with care, compassion, and concern. So although I understand the sentiment of parents not being as responsible, somebody raised them. And so
mm.
what skills were they given? What
Yep.
type of supports were they gifted with? And or was it just a life of struggle, contempt, and all that other stuff? Like, we have to have some real conversations about the legislation that was put on the books that impacted our communities in the way that they have, where they've drowned out our communities literally underwater, where
Hmm.
they traumatize our families time and time again. You can't have a traumatized people and think that everybody's going to come out healthy.
Very true. Very true. I think very few of us, because I see people who talk about like when we talk about the hood or disimpoverished environments where
Mhm.
you'll get a LeBron or you'll get something great out of that environment. I tell
Decadent
people,
Bell.
in my opinion, that's rare. Like I think most individuals from that environment, in some way or another, they succumb to the situations around them. And like you mentioned, which is a very good point, sometimes the trauma you dealt with, whether it's like with your parents or not having a father or a mother or molestation or a lot of these things that go on, unfortunately, Lorraine, it seems like we normalize it. You know what I mean? We don't take it and
We're in
say
survival mode. We don't
survival mode.
normalize it. We're in survival mode. We're
Yeah,
just trying to make it from day to day.
yeah.
So we can't. I mean, and I would hate to assume that everybody has had the upbringing that I did with a single parent, a mom who worked at Walmart and Target while she went to first Sac City and then Sac State and
Mm,
graduated. Right. Um, I can't tell you that we had a whole lot of money growing up, but we definitely were surrounded by family and we had a lot of love.
mm-hmm,
Now, where my father was around that time, he was doing him,
hmm,
right? He was traveling around. My dad has filled in with the Temptations. My dad has, toured with some of the biggest names people, you know what I mean? Uh,
mm-hmm,
but he was worried about him. So you can imagine, as a young girl, my father didn't give me my identity. I had to figure it out. And I was out here wild, and I was,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think that we've left our babies unprotected. We have a lot of selfish adults who just happen to impregnate somebody,
Mm-hmm.
right?
This is a fact.
And we've had mothers who have had to struggle to survive, right? And so when you have a compounding trauma, and that's not to excuse um, the behaviors that we're seeing portrayed in our community. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we definitely have to have that conversation, but how we approach that conversation is going to be the difference between whether we turn people off and they stop listening, or whether they're going to be receptive to what it is you're trying to communicate. There's no doubt about it. We got to get a handle on our babies. We
Very
absolutely.
true. Very
But
true.
go ahead, because I had another thought, but I was going to keep talking. But this your show, so I'm gonna shut up.
Well, it's a fine line between preaching and kind of figuring out a way to talk to somebody and help them. Because I
Yeah.
struggle with that at times, because you want to make sure people understand what's going on. But
Mhm.
if you get into this like preachy mode, they're going to turn you off. But that's why I'm such a big proponent of history and everything we've been through. Because it's my understanding that if parents took the initiative and say, you know what, I'm going to learn about me as a black person and everything I've been through in my life. I think that's the main way of helping your child. Like you mentioned, if you didn't deal with your trauma and everything you went through, unfortunately, you're going to pass it down to your child. So I see young people all the time who are in positions where they may be about to have a child, or
Mhm.
they're very sexually active. And I'm thinking, you don't know who you are yet. So if you don't know who you are and you
Or they're
haven't came
looking
to
for love.
this happens all too often. So again, it goes back to the parent not being there in a particular way. And I want us to get to a point, Lorreen, where a new couple who's having a kid that's black, you guys are aware of everything we've been through in this country, and you can use that as fuel, because you can say, look, we've been through all this trauma and we have a system waiting on us. We have a system waiting on our black boys. So if we
Mhm.
don't do certain things, we're kind of lending it to how, like, the direction this system is going in, and
Mhm.
that's going to create a cycle of the same type of trauma. When I look at my family, we about to have a family reunion here on July 2nd, and I'm helping to put it together. And everybody has their opinions, and some want to do it, some don't. But I'm trying to tell everybody, we have to fix this. Like the neglect, the fact that we don't see each other a lot, we have
But
to
take that
fix.
back, though. Take that back to the history. What happened to our families? We
There
were
we go.
separated,
There
right?
we go.
And
There we
because
go.
we were separated, we're still trying to figure out where we all fit in,
Yep.
right? I have over 100 cousins here in Sacramento. I
Damn.
don't see them. We don't hang out. And no
Damn.
matter how we try to connect or whatever, it doesn't translate,
It
because
doesn't translate.
there was a breach in that line. And because there was a breach in that line, we have not really managed to put it together, because everybody's in survival mode.
Hmm.
Everybody's trying to make sure their nuclear family is okay. They're not really worried about their extended family.
Yep.
And so it's just is and I love my family. I love my cousins. It's just hard. It's hard to be um black in America with a legacy or a lineage of slavery, and having to piece parts of your family together via whatever, what, ancestry.com or
All
whatever,
these different places. Yeah, yeah.
Mormon church, who ironically has all these records for whatever
Come
reason.
on now. Come on now.
You know what I mean? Like, so we're a broken people expected to exhibit whole behaviors.
Hmm.
That's unacceptable, and that is an unrealistic expectation.
And it's unfair. And I've talking to members of my family about other members who may exhibit like dysfunctional behaviors. And I go right to not just our history, I go right to their history. Like, we know this particular family member didn't have a father. We
Mhm.
know that their mama could have been on crack or doing some shit in the 80s. What did you expect from them with that childhood? Like I said, some people think you're supposed to be LeBron James. They'll Talk about the 1% of black folks who
Well, that's
it,
what they see.
that's what they may see what I'm saying?
I mean, and there's a reason they're on the television. The decadent veil makes you think that if LeBron can do it, I can do it too.
It,
The problem is they've sold us a bill of goods that is not going to come to fruition for everybody playing basketball, football, baseball, whatever.
yep.
There's only a slight percentage of those people who make it to the next level, but they give the impression that everybody's going to do it, and we have to start keeping it real. Everybody not going to do it.
Everybody not gonna do it, and that's not the black community. Oprah, Jay-Z, LeBron, this
And they
isn't the
make
black
you think
community.
that they have all this money and they struggling with bills paycheck to paycheck too. We got to keep it a buck.
Yes,
But
and
they
they
don't tell
struggle.
us that part. But
Yeah,
they'll hold this person up in front of you.
all day long.
They'll say, "Hey, be like them." I don't
Yep.
want to be like them.
Yep. And I mean, they don't have no defense against this system either.
Nope.
Once this system decides they want their ass, once the system decides they want you off the top, they come to get your ass too. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, nah, we just need to work together. We just need to get all of us together to a degree and find a way to unify and be on code with one another. I'm sure that's why you do what you do. That's why I do what I do. Because look, man, I'm not white, I'm not Asian, I'm not from no other community. What's happened to my people is very specific. I have people around me who will say, man, you need to kind of lay off, lay off the racism shit, lay off the. I'm like, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. And if we look at, like, people don't look at Malcolm and Medgar Evers and all these individuals the right way. I look at them like young men who made a decision.
Yep.
I'm gonna fight for my people, and wherever this leads me, it leads me. But I'm not gonna be scared. I'm not gonna just think about my family. Now, of course, the people in your house, you got to think about your family. You got to uplift your family. But we're a part of a global family. Like, it's a lot of us, and if we can change how shit happens in our community as a whole, that's going to affect my kids too. You know what I mean? So sometimes we need to step outside of ourselves and say, we need to help whoever needs help in whatever tool we have, like you said, because I do the podcasting thing. It's other small businesses I have. Everybody can do something. So find what it is you can do and help out, because sometimes I'm in, like, my old neighborhood or different places where it's predominantly black folks, and I'm like, damn, I'm looking at the adults like, damn, come on, man. We got to figure out a way to help, because I have grandkids now. And I don't want 20, 30 years from now, we still dealing with police brutality. We still dealing with some of these ills. And it's looking to me like this system ain't going to come help us. Ain't nobody finna come help us.
No.
We're going to have to do this shit ourselves.
Superman. And Superman not coming.
Not coming.
So you know what responsibility does each one have so that collectively we can form the Voltron? I can't do everything. I'm not going to. That's an unrealistic expectation. What we've learned about our community is the people that are the busiest are the ones that people continue to throw stuff on, while everybody else should be getting activated too.
Very true.
And so I just, I don't have a global mindset. I'm gonna be 100% with you. I haven't been too many times out of the country, right? And so I don't think about globally. I think about what's happening right now in my state, in my neighborhood right now. And all politics is local. There are some of us who don't want to engage in politics because we feel like, they're not going to hear us. They're not going to respond. If you collectively got a whole bunch of black folks that showed up at one of these school board meetings, you don't think that things would change? You don't think that they would get scared? The thing that they've learned about black people is that we're very, very reactionary. We're not very proactive. We'll show up, we'll cuss them out for a moment, we'll tell them, we'll give them a piece of our mind, and then we disappear. And unfortunately, they've learned to wait us out. They just do nothing. And I've been going in front of Elk Grove now 5 years, most of the time by myself, right? And it's just like, I'm like, I hope at one of these years, somebody come with me. And so then, as our team started to grow, me and Lisa and one of other of our teammates, we used to go. Now it's just me and Lisa, but we're bringing our young people up behind us. So it's kind of like We have to learn to engage the systems, not just because they owe us something, which they do, because we are tax-paying citizens as well, and we have certain rights. We we are supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be afforded life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our children are supposed to be afforded a free and appropriate public education. That's just inherent in the so-called rights that they have on the books.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is we're not reading the books.
And
We're
it's damn. So wait, so the school board meetings you go to,
not.
those type of meetings. So you saying, as far as black parents are concerned, it's not a lot of them there.
Hell no. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Wow. Yeah.
And this particular school district is number one in the state, not in Sacramento, not in Elk Grove, but in the state for disproportionate discipline of black children, and hardly nobody is at the meetings. That
See,
means our children are getting kicked out of school. They're being harshly disciplined for the same behaviors as their counterparts, and we're not there. Our kids, we're sending them into these school environments unprotected, where they're exposed to adults who don't have their best interests at heart, who then continue to ostracize them in front of their classmates, and we wonder why our kids are so pissed off in the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah, and parents don't realize. And I had to. I went through a lot of steps in being a father and seeing what works, seeing what don't work, and really, your involvement, you caring, makes teachers care. If you show up, if you show them that I'm gonna be here, I'm a everything you send home, I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna do the checks and balances. I'm gonna come to the school if I got to, respectfully. Teachers begin to see things differently, because some teachers who have 25, 30 students, sometimes they don't have the fortitude to look at every student individually like that. But if you show up,
that's the job they chose. They don't get,
yeah.
Listen, I don't give teachers excuses. I'm sorry, I don't. I expect adults to know how to deal with children. I expect adults to know how to manage their classroom. Not saying that there aren't some districts that put unrealistic expectations on children, but if you are hyper focused on, let's just call him little Jamal, and you ain't looking at little Colin, we have a problem. He should not be the only one that you're focused on. And research has shown that black children are hyper focused on. That means they don't hardly see nothing nobody else does, but they know what your baby is doing.
And I remember talking, my sister Sonia Williams Lewis, she's on my show once a week, and she's an ex-teacher. She speaks a lot about how something I had no idea about, like the credential process, like how a lot of these substitute teachers, even some teachers, it's not even their first profession they chose. Like they wanted to do something else and they wind up being a teacher, or they're a substitute for a subject that they didn't go to school for. You know what I mean? So I'm like, damn, when we look at our system,
CBS, all you have to do is pass the CBS, and they might circumvent that now because they have such a shortage of teachers.
Damn. Let me ask you a question real quick. So do you think if America treated a teacher like a superstar, like 70,000 a year, like gave them enough money to survive and thrive, do you think the teaching field would change, where if a teacher knew it was a lot of money in this for me, yeah, I'm gonna be a teacher, yeah, I'm gonna try hard, I got a lot to lose? Do you think it's a connection between the fact that black or white, whoever the teacher is, they don't get a lot of money?
Well, I think sometimes that's a misconception, because that leads us to believe that all teachers are making poverty wages, and that's just not true.
No,
no, no, it's not true. I think also, do I think it would make a difference? Well, no, because horrible people are horrible people. If you think it's a brain issue, it's a heart issue, and they just don't see black children as human beings. So no, I don't think money would change them. I don't. And I always tell them, I used to, when I would go into the room, is I don't take advice from nobody who didn't raise their own children during slavery. Sorry, I don't. I don't.
That's interesting. That's interesting, because something
How
has
did they become the authority on child rearing, and they didn't raise their ancestors didn't raise their own children during slavery? How did that happen?
This is the fact. By choice. Like
And nobody's going to talk about Brown versus the Board of Education, where a lot of black teachers were fired and replaced by these white women who just needed to get out of the house. Like, are we not going to talk about what really happened? So I don't know. And
Another
they do
question.
the same thing over and over again. And like I told the one teacher, just like say I had an old computer, right? I got a couple of different options. I can upgrade the hardware, or I could get rid of it and get something new. If they don't want to take the training to be able to deal with my black child, then we have to get rid of them. And we have to stop letting them hide behind the union with their bad behavior. The children don't have a union. So I just tell them I'm the children's union. So
let me ask you this question. So if because I understand the system that we're in, but what if we were to get more black teachers, like black men specifically, but black teachers who came from the neighborhood, who had a idea of what the kids needed and really cared about them? Is that an angle you think? Huh?
They won't last in that system.
Why you say that?
They don't want black people who actually care about black children. That would change the trajectory of what these children are dealing with. They can't have that. And a lot of black male teachers or black people who actually care about these kids don't last in those environments because they are ostracized and they're made to feel unwelcome in that environment. We've had complaints from multiple teachers, dealing with those environments. The environment is toxic. So either we're at some point going to get smart enough to start registering our home as homeschool charters and pulling our babies out.
Ask you that. I was just going to ask, how do you feel about the homeschooling idea?
I pulled my kid out.
Did you?
Yeah. I was raising too much hell in Elk Grove, and I didn't want her to be a casualty to suffer because of the activism or the advocacy that I was doing in the school district. And the pandemic was the perfect time. We was at home already. She was crying a whole lot. There was the change happened so abruptly for our young people that it kind of created a ripple in their timeline. And so in order to kind of help her with her mental health, right? And to kind of focus on what she may need, my husband and I decided to go ahead and pull her. And we actually established our own homeschool charter called Melanin Academics, I think it was called. I mean, she's graduating this year. She was accepted to Sac State, so we didn't do too bad.
So is that something you recommend to parents?
Absolutely. These people don't deserve your children. They don't. They don't deserve our children.
But I guess the parent has to be fully capable too. Like you have to be willing to do everything necessary. You got to be willing to sit there and go through the tedious whatever assignments they're getting, and you there's a strong level of involvement you have to have for that to work properly. You know what I mean?
But okay, so not really, because there's several different ways or different things that you can do to homeschool. So there's unschooling, which you take them out of the traditional framework of whatever you thought education was, that goes out the window. Is it hard? Absolutely. We didn't do that route. We actually took her out of high school and she took community college courses because they already had the framework in place to do the digital distance learning, right? So it was free for her to take community college courses. One semester is 1 year in regular high school. So she already has completed a lot of her college credits and got high school credits for doing the work. So there's a way that we can change the game so that our babies have access to a different way of learning. We don't have robots. We don't raise robots, right? And so we have to figure out what they're interested in, what they like. Of course, get the core subjects out of the way. But my daughter took dance. We traveled, so that can be a subject in the way that you write it. Just exposing her to real life things is educational. So we have to change our mind from thinking that homeschooling means I have to have my kids sit in a desk for 6 to 7 hours and I got to be browbeating them about this subject and that subject. No, that's not education. We didn't learn that way. Our children don't learn like that. They learn by the senses: touch, taste, smell, feel, see. That's how our babies
Mm,
learn. And so we have to
damn.
be able to give them something different to look at and to see what works for them.
Damn. So you hear that, y'all? There's several different ways of homeschooling you can do.
And
You
if they
'cause-
seeing goat, Miss Sharina talks about that all the time. And she has six children. She has
yeah.
homeschooled five. Only I say five because the sixth one is a toddler. So
Hmm.
there are things and there's information that our parents can get to change the trajectory about allowing people who don't give a damn about their children to be the ones teaching them.
Hmm. So that's interesting. So it doesn't have to be you homeschool where you start them at 8 in the morning and they're
No.
just going through all these mundane topics. You can create it the way you want to. That's important. That's
Oh,
important. And
yeah.
that's something that I wasn't aware of. Wow. Okay.
And she, this girl, I mean, she would get up at 11 in the afternoon. She had afternoon classes. She kind of marched to the beat of her own drum. She was just
Hmm.
doing whatever she was doing, but she was taking college level courses.
Mm,
So her writing has developed. I would think at a higher level because like at school they're teaching you the ELA format. She took actual college courses with college professors who refined her writing in real time at
mm.
16 and 17 years old, right? And
Wow.
so I just think that we have to think about, what do we want our children to do, see, feel, how we want them to engage in education. Education is not the way that they have made it in the books. It's
Hmm.
not the way that works for their children. We have to figure out how our children learn and what interests them and give them the option to take
Hmm.
courses in that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So it's homeschooling isn't as difficult as one would think it is, and it's a process you can go through where you're implementing what you want your kid to learn. And funny enough, I just met like an
They want
18
to
year
learn.
old. Yeah, I just met like an 18-year-old kid who was homeschooled his home life, his whole life. Like I've
Mhm.
never met a child who was homeschooled from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Okay.
And we had some of the deepest conversations. Like his perspective on certain things, it was next level. And I'm thinking, damn, all this bullshit they feed you in public school, all the not
Yeah.
just the curriculum, which ain't nothing, but the
Mhm.
teachers and the individuals who don't pour into you the way you need to. Homeschooling maybe should be an option for all black parents, even if it's something you don't want
They
to
can
do.
form co-ops, right? Where
Yeah.
one day they at this person's house, another day they're at this person's, another day they're at
Oh.
the park, another day, they're exploring one of the museums. Like, get your babies out the house, get them out the house and expose them to things and ask them what they think. Ask
Mm.
them, how, well, what does that taste like?
Hmm.
Let's go touch some trees. Let's go, let's just,
Yep.
they shouldn't be at a desk all day.
They
It's not
shouldn't be at a
necessary.
desk all day. Yep. And in the environments that they're at the desk, it just doesn't breed um like clear thinking and free thinking. Like they're kind of determining how you should think, and none of that's cool. But we need to keep it real. Sometimes parents get to a point where like the school is the babysitter. You know what I
Fact,
mean? Like
fact.
I've heard parents say, "Don't call me." I've seen, I've seen this where parents would tell the school, "Don't call me."
But that's
They would.
because they get excessive calls during the day while they're at work. And
Mm,
so the teachers and administrators, they abuse the phone and they call these parents constantly, forcing them to get off work to come and deal with little behaviors that little Colin has too. But because it's coming from your black child, it's a problem.
ah.
That research shows this. This is not my opinion. Research shows it. So we have to
Mm.
be clear on what is going on in our school environments, and we got to listen to our children. Ask them what's happening in class. They will tell you if they think you're going to listen.
If they think you're going to listen, because I've been there and I know a lot of parents who your kid is mentioning something not just about school, but an individual. It
Yep.
could be Mrs. Thompson, it could be one of the students, and you just brushing it off because you're tired from work. But that
Or
can
you
be the
house the troublemaker,
yeah, yeah.
right?
You tell them what you did wrong.
Yeah.
That's your response, opposed to having a back.
Yeah.
That's very important, man. And a lot of these attitudes that we're talking about, if we made this shift, it'll change our community. Like if we begin to look at things a little differently, education is one thing, But when it comes to a lot of stuff that got to do with black folks,
Yep.
everybody should be concerned about where we headed, because when something tragic happens, whether to your family or to something or somebody around you, everybody has this outrage mentality. When what about when ain't no tragedies? What about when we just talking about our day-to-day lives?
Yep.
We can all be affecting change, especially for our kids. You know what I mean?
100%. And we got to be at the table or we're on the menu. Like we have to be there. We have to. There's no excuse. And I understand that there are a lot of our parents who work multiple jobs. I understand that. However, our babies can't wait.
Mm-hmm.
They can't wait for us to get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't happening. So what are we gonna do? And I see this comment on your thing, and I wanted to get to it. Parents absolutely need access to their own team of attorneys. Um, I think that changes the game. You know why they don't mess with little Colin in the corner? Because his parents are lawyered up, and they know that they can make their job harder for them. So they
Wait.
don't. Little white Colin over in the corner that be cutting up. They don't mess with him because his parents have attorneys, right? And they know that they will take them to court over their mistreatment of their perceived mistreatment of their child, even though the child is acting a fool. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting. So you having a problem with your child at school, and the principal and the teachers are telling you he's doing this or that. You can tell them, "I'm gonna just have my lawyer come talk to y'all."
Yep.
You can lower up like
They have lawyers.
very interesting.
And so a good viable option, and there we have two folks who are out of our office. They do Legal Shield. So Legal Shield has written letters on behalf of our parents. Legal Shield has come through and given advice and listened to consultations. We've signed up several families here just to make sure they have access to Legal Shield. They have an app. If you get called into the office, so we put it on my daughter's phone. If you get called into your office, you can hit this app and get your attorney on the phone. So you don't make no statements, right? And so there's a way that we can circumvent it, and it's like $29 a month or something like that. Don't quote me, but it's a nominal figure to have access to attorneys and to start to try to level this playing field, because district have attorneys. They have multiple attorneys.
That's a very interesting concept. So they're treating everything like the legal process. So just like when you go to jail or you get arrested and you lawyer up, same shit.
Well, this is the thing. So if your child gets arrested on their school campus, they're simultaneously thrust into two systems: the educational discipline system and the criminal justice system, juvenile system. Before your child is ever convicted of anything, do you know that they're assigned a probation officer? How do I have a probation officer and I've never been convicted of anything?
School
So
to prison
everybody's getting touched, right? By one body, one black body, one other. I mean, I don't talk about nobody else. I'm only going to talk about black people. You know, we can hold that. Other people can talk about their communities. I'm going to talk about black people.
Yes.
So everybody's getting a touch off of the black body, right? So just like slavery, where multiple people were getting a touch off the black body. The system hasn't changed. The way that it's administered is different.
Wow. Wow, that's deep. So I appreciate you sitting with me today, sister. Now, what I wanted you to do is tell everybody real quickly, because I know in this month of June you have a few events coming up. So tell everybody about that.
So June 23rd through the 25th, we have what we call our celebration weekend. It's like our end of the year school, end of the year advocacy year for us. And we like to celebrate and we like to love on our children in our community. So Friday is our Kicks and Heels soiree, which means you can wear your tennis shoes or you can come dressed in your flies heels and come to our formal event. It's absolutely free, and that's going to be held at our place, the Black-owned venue downtown. And then the next day on Saturday, we have our family fun day at Elk Grove Regional Park. We just, go and barbecue, get some snow cone. The snow cone truck is coming out. Everything is free. If you have something you want to share with the community, come on, bring that too. If you can't cook, don't cook. Don't do it. But if you want to just come hang out, and we have oversized Uno and oversized Sorry to play with the babies and just love on them a little bit. And then our big, huge event is our Black graduation celebration, where we acknowledge the accomplishments of our children, our babies from preschool, elementary, junior high, and then we're going to do our graduates from high school and college. So, it's just a way to celebrate us and show our excellence, right? It's
Yeah,
dripping in Black excellence,
there
and
we go.
hang out and love on our people and show the best of us and send them off with some money and
Yeah,
scholarships.
definitely, definitely. And I just wanted you to know, man, I truly appreciate everything that you do. There's so many people that I'm beginning to meet in my community that do so much for other people. And I'm always thinking, because of the space I'm in, I'm always thinking about their family. Like, damn, some of this may be neglecting their family slightly. Ain't nobody thinking about that. So I
No,
know it's a thankless job, sister, but I salute you for everything you're doing. And people out here are recognizing the work that you put in, and the kids that you're helping. This is going to change something. I know all of us want to help people in larger numbers, like the more the merrier type of mentality. But whoever we can help is who we can help. You know what I
yep,
mean? I'm just happy that you realized who we are, because I think if you in America and you black and you do your research and get an understanding of who we are, that shit should piss you off. And then it should go from pissing you off to wanting to do something. That's why I post news stories. That's why I post shit to make people mad and like shocking. Yeah, be shocked, motherfucker. So you can so tomorrow you can do something. Even if doing something is talking to your kid about it. Even if it's talking to your kid about the incidents that happened in America. If you show you love black folks, you'll be surprised how your children act. You know what I mean?
100%.
So so
And we
shout
have
out.
responsibility to do it. We
There
have
we go,
a
man.
responsibility to do it. Everybody's not going to do it the same way,
Yep.
right? My
Yep.
young people, we just put them on a podcast and say, "What do you think? You
Mm-hmm.
saw this, you see this happening.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell somebody, or would you want your teacher to respond to you better so that you can learn?" Right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
it's just about putting the questions out there and getting them to think. Think
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Yep.
Don't tell me you don't know. I don't accept that. You do know. Talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about getting them comfortable with talking, because so many times in those classrooms, they are shut down and told to shut up, and they're not called on, even when they know the answer.
Yep. Yep. And giving our children a voice is like a catalyst to their future. If they're in class and they can't speak their mind, if
Yep.
they at home
And can't speak
and
their mind.
and they get to saying how they feel and you shut them down because of the tone or delivery, you doing the same shit white folks do. We already in this country. Let your kid be boisterous,
Yep.
respectfully, but let them say what they gotta say. Let them get it out.
And teach them
Make
how
sure
to
they.
say it better.
Yeah, yeah.
Give them the floor to and teach them how to say it better.
There we go. There we go. But shutting them down, being the type of black parent that dealing with racism in a way where you want to shut them up. You be quiet. Don't say it so loud.
Yep.
Master listening. That's what you're actually saying. That's what you're actually
And you
saying.
don't subscribe to that on Black versus the
Nah.
Board of Education. They get to say what the hell they want to say.
There
And
you
if
go.
the adults listening or if the people listening have a problem, then they can feel free to call our office.
There we
They can
go.
talk to one of the adults.
There we go. And this is how we change the future of
That's
our black children. So we don't have to see some of the things, because when we look at 20 years from now on police brutality and all these institutionalized problems,
right.
our kids going to be adults. How are they going to view it? Are they going to go home and close their door and forget about it? Or are they going to go home and say, you know what can I do? And I think we doing the work right now is showing these young people, you got a voice. Stand up. We live in the time that there we go. There we go. So I appreciate you coming on the show, sister.
Thank you for inviting me.
Anything else you want to share? What's your you got give everybody your Instagram or your Facebook so they can look at all the flyers.
At BYLP, you can
There we
find
go.
us on Instagram,
There we go.
on Facebook, Black Youth Leadership Project. That's it.
There we go.
I just
Everybody,
love people.
everybody in Sacramento, surrounding areas, support this sister. If you have a young person that's about to go to college, you have a young person that's getting in trouble. Like, it's so many, holler at me, y'all. It's a lot of people in my community who
Let
are
us
doing
love them.
things. Come
And
on now.
self-love is a thing. Let us love them and let's get them to where they feel built up, because so many times they've been shut down and browbeat in a specific environment. We gotta check our environments. We gotta check what we're exposing our babies to, and we gotta stand in the gap. Some of them hits that our children are taking, the adults got to step in front of these children.
There we go. There we
They
go.
do.
And you got to start with, because I know parents who will say, "Ain't no, I want to put my kid in something, but I'm not sure." Because sometimes your kid needs to hear. Let's say you are giving them great information. Sometimes they need to hear it from another adult,
100%.
preferably somebody who look like us.
Yep.
So now we just passing around. When they say it takes a village to raise a kid, that's like some slogan shit. But this is the reality of it. This is how a village raises a kid. You know what I mean? Back in the day, it used to be you outside and a neighbor or somebody else black get on you about something you're doing. You know what I mean? That's changing. That's not.
But you knew they loved you.
There we go.
You knew they loved you, and they weren't telling you that because they wanted to harm you in any way. We got to get back to that. I'll be honest. I don't talk to my neighbors. I don't know them like that. But why not? And ain't none of them black. So let me be clear. I don't talk to many of my neighbors. I probably know one or two on the street, right? That's different than how I grew up, right?
Very true.
I lived at grandma's house across the street. Miss Jerry was across the street, and then Christopher and his family was over there, and then you had the Facinos on the corner. We're not community like that anymore.
Yep. The world is constantly the world is constantly getting worse. But I mean, be the change. I know that's kind of a cliche term, but be the change that you want to see in any capacity that you have to actually do. So this is your brother Harrison, Melanated Combo Podcast. Thank you for tuning in to another episode, man. Go to Melanated Combo on YouTube, like, subscribe. The show is live every Tuesday and Sunday on the Melanated Combo on YouTube and my Facebook page, which is Harrison Anderson. This is the Melanated Combo family. So we're going to have all conversations related to our people, regardless of what it's about. But we need to talk about it, and something needs to happen. So we're going to keep putting in this work, family. Again, this is your brother Harrison Lorreen. Thank you for joining the show today, sister. Everybody, please tap in with the Black Youth Leadership Project, because this is one of the things in my city that's making a difference. And I'm proud of this, sister. So everybody, thank you for tuning into another episode. We out.